Good morning or almost good afternoon to everybody. In my report, I would like to go through 2 points. First, it's a EU election because we have our meeting at a certain date, and I think it is important for the EU, but just also to explain, and it was mentioned by Mary, that at that time in Brussels, it's quite a weird situation and we are in a waiting position for different things. I would like to present the result of the brainstorming that we had in Rome. So you received already some information in the President's report, but some reflection that we had about the working group process, what could we do to change that and what we can improve. And I will give one example with one topic, which is access to medicine, and to see how we could consider one of these topics and see how we could implement that in the working group procedures that I would like to present. So first of all, the election in the European Parliament, it's just to show a few points. Of course, you know all that the European Parliament is a co-legislature, so it's playing on an equal footing with the European Council for the adoption of EU rules, so directive or regulation. And we are in this triangle with the European Commission proposing and having the legislative initiative. And then there is a co-decision between the Council of the European Parliament, the Council being the voice of the Member States, and the European Parliament being the voice of the people. And here are the three roles of the European Parliament. It has a legislative power because it's passing EU law together with the Council based on European Commission proposal. It has a supervisory role, so you will hear a lot about the European Parliament in the weeks and months to come when they will have some audition for the possible new commission, new commissioner, when they will have hearings of these new people to be appointed, and when they can have a motion of censure, and it was already done previously. There were some debates also last week. I don't know if you followed that with the Spitzenkandidat for the position of the European Commission President. And of course, a very powerful weapon for the European Parliament. It has some budgetary power because they are approving the long-term budget of the EU, and they are checking also the use of the EU funds. As I say, there will be some key moments in the weeks and months to come. Of course, this week with the election, so I hope that you've already voted for the country that were previously, or that you have given proxy for the coming days. But there will be so the election, and I think for me the most important date will be after the election, when there will be all the negotiation between the political groups. There will be also the official end of the current parliament on the 1st of July, and then the first plenary session of the newly elected parliament on the 2nd of July. And there will be a lot of work and negotiation going on during the summer and in September for within the European Parliament setting up the new committees. So we will know, for example, the composition of the committee will be in charge of public health. So that will be important to take the contact then with the newly elected MEPs or re-elected MEPs who will be involved in the work of the Internal Market Committee and the Environment and the Public Health Committee. So that was, from my side, the part, oh yes, and we've got, but we will see in a few days, but the possible composition of the new assembly with a diminution of the two major parties who were always leading the European Parliament. It's EPP and the Socialist and Social Democrat groups. And of course, with an increase, potential increase of the far-right parties, but also an increase of the Green and of the Liberals. So the composition of the new majority, the new balance within the European Parliament for the time being is still very blurred, and we don't know really what will be all the impacts on this key component of the EU functioning life. And that is also the possible change between the current composition of the European Parliament with a number of seats for each political party and what we have as forecast for the new elected. So we see that some parties are, or some groups are winning a lot on the far right, for example, and some other are losing, and the two major ones are losing seats. So let's wait for Sunday evening to see the news and see how it will really look like. And as I said, there will be also the discussion about the new president of the European Parliament on the Council, plus the new president of the European Commission. So major change in all the institutions of the EU. Now I would like to come back on the result of the brainstorming that we had in Rome. So this brainstorming was organized around three main areas. One was a policy topic, another one was about working procedures, and the other one was about structure. So if I go on the policy topics and we try to organize the results, what were the more popular topic and items. So even for me, it's a bit small, but there were a lot of remarks regarding focusing more on... Oh, sorry. I can move it. Okay. So there were some consensus of... no consensus, but a lot of voice mentioning that we should focus more on political issues and less on scientific topics. We see that some conditions of the GPs and family doctors are really important and should be more debated, like burnout, workload. We have also the workforce. And then we've got some other topic that we are already dealing with, of course, GP recognition, prevention activity on HTA. If we go to the structure, but that will not be the point of my presentation, but just for you to know, and I think it's also on the President's report, but there was one massive point related to the Permanent Secretariat in Brussels, and then there was almost equal votes or recommendation on the structure, on the way that UMO could improve with, and sometimes there are some contradictions, of course, among the topic. So more power to the board, task force to also support the work of the board, involve more the delegation in the work, have more link between the meetings, visit more the delegation, and the working process, and that is where we will have the working group. That was one of the questions that was raised. Are our structure of the current working group still effective? Is it a good way of functioning, of having all the time the same working groups? And how should it work also between the meetings? And I think that is important, that there should be some preparatory work and continuous work all along the year between the different GA meetings. So now, if you look at the current UMO working group on topics that are covered, you will see the working group on competency and complexity, the working group on preventive activity, working group specialty recognition. I know now that it's covered by the ad hoc as well, but ad hoc should be a kind of flexible way of having a burning topic that we don't know to classify, and the idea was to put really specialty recognition again on a more continuous basis, with also some specific tasks for this working group, and I can mention that. The working group on e-health, cross-border care on CME CPD. And we see that some working group have more topic to work on, some other have major topic like specialty recognition. So what could we do to improve that? The idea is to have more, have sometime active working group and sometime dormant working group. If there is no hot issue or no position required for a working group, why having a meeting of this working group? So we should really work on the basis of the agenda of the working group. So we could have a list of working group, and some will be convened at some meeting, and some will not be convened. The idea is also to create, and that was one of my suggestions, but I am pleased that we have it already this afternoon, to create a working group on GP values and GP working conditions, because we see that it's a major concern of the UMO delegations. And each time that Mary is involved in the survey, there is a lot of participation and a lot of attention about this issue. So we should put that in a more structured way, having it on a regular basis at maybe each of the UMO meeting, because there are a lot of things to discuss. And maybe, I don't know, here it's only proposal for the dormant working group, and that could change from one GA to the other. But for example, if there is no more issue on cross-border healthcare, then this working group could be dormant for one session of the GA and then reactivated for the next one, depending on the topic. So that's really something that I would like to see your reaction on this idea about the working group, to see if you support this more agile way of managing the working group and not to have fixed and definite working group. I would like to give one example on how it could work. So I choose the topic of access to medicine, because, well, we all know that sometimes it's the prices of the medicine are getting really high, or there are some time that is very long between the discovery of the medicine and the market authorization. So that is a topic that is dealt by the European Commission. But I would like to illustrate this. Is this a topic, for example, for the UMO? So should the UMO discuss access to medicine? How should we manage this? So we should, in a preliminary phase, and that will be the role of the Secretariat and also advising the board, to make an analysis of the policy context, what could be the impact of the profession, and if it is accepted as a priority or as an interesting topic, then we decide to develop a position and to bring value for the UMO. So let's go through this example. If you allow me some details about the access for medicine, we see that it's on the agenda of the EU institution for some years now. There is an expert group that has been established since 2015 by the European Commission. It's composed of member state representatives with the participation of the European Medical Agency. There has been some Council conclusion on access to medicine. The European Parliament has worked on that. OCDE is working on that. The World Health Assembly is also preparing this week a resolution on this issue, and Romania has put it as one of its priority. as I say, so I don't have yet the text. There is a draft text of the World Health Assembly about access to medicine. And it's also, of course, addressing the high prices of medicine, of new medicine. That was one of the 7 Romanian health priority. And there was, in April, an informal health minister in Romania, especially on this topic, trying also to see how patients could get access to medicine even before the official authorization and authorization to go to the market. That is also the work going on at the European Commission with the expert group. So, and also the OCDC report with an analysis of the situation on possible policy options to reduce research and development costs, increase spending efficiency, determine willingness to pay for new treatment and health benefits, bring new incentive for innovation, and strengthen the information base to better inform policy debate. But as I said, it's only here an illustration. So when we do that for one topic, access for medicine, we have to analyze the policy context, see what could be the role of the UMO. Is it important for the UMO to have a position on this? And that should be dealt by the board in cooperation with the chair of the working group. And then we have a designation of a responsible working group who could work on the topic and then prepare a position that could be voted by the General Assembly. So that will be a way of scrutinizing the different activities, putting priorities on really have working group that will be working to deliver positions on recommendations. So that's, in fact, the result of the discussion that we had after Rome during the last months. And it's open, of course, for you and for your reaction on this new way of restructuring the working group, on the working process as well.
Yeah, Czech Republic. Yeah, in fact, Karin, you already answered my question. That was that we have to consider the number of the membership of the members' organization, real number of GPs. That is completely different or could be completely different from Eurostat. For example, in Czech Republic, it was 7,000 general practitioners to Czech Republic, but in fact, it is more than 2,000 are formed by GP pediatricians or pediatricians for that work as a GP. So, in fact, it is and who are not members of our organization, of course. So, in fact, the total number of GPs, family doctors, GPs in Czech Republic is about 5,000. And from this number, about 4,500 are members of our organization. And let's say there are some student or senior doctors that they don't have the full membership fee. So let's say with the full membership fee, there are about 4,000 something GPs in the organization of Czech Republic. Another thing, so what we have to do here is to say exactly the key from which number of GPs shall we take what is the reference for this. The second is that there are big differences among countries who is really a member of or who is covering the from which money is our membership fee counted. We have only or covered. It is what we have in Czech Republic is only membership of GPs who are members of our organization. But there are countries where the umbrella is formed by medical chamber, for example, that is completely different money we can expect. So when I come back to Czech Republic, I have to stand in front of the board of our association and have to give clear explanations how it is formed. So only I want to make attention to attract attention to this issue as well. That it is not only could be completely different money from which we have to raise up and to find our solution.
I think I already answered this question. This topic should not be the cause for withdrawal. Again, this is the subject of discussion. In 2002, it took 2 years, 3 years until they reach some kind of consensus, but it wasn't a consensus. And we don't want to repeat our mistakes. We are discussing this item now. Perhaps in the future, you must have time to digest all the figures, all the maths involved here. We can change again, as I said, the percentage. We can put there 70% of ratio for GPs and to establish a fair contribution key. If I'm cynical, I may say that Romania, it's okay because we have the same contribution like 5 years, 10 years ago, or similar to other countries, member of UMO 10 or 20 years ago. A small country, but we are not so small, of course, as number, as GDP. For us, it's okay. We are suffering in the first row from 2,600 euros for doubling or tripling, for triple amount of money. It's not, I'm a suicidal guy here. In front of my organization. But this, again, it's only a subject of discussion, and I think I was crystal clear that the consensus figures from your organization, depending of the contribution inside your organization, you may put there for 2 parts, part-time contribution, 1 membership. Now, it's easy to calculate how to report the numbers of physicians in the way that create equity and equality with other countries. Okay, we cannot close. Please, Liam. After that, and again, Rihanna.
I want to thank you for the detailed work you've put into this proposal. And if I may advise you that you can please some of the people some of the time, and more of the people more of the time. But even a general practitioner cannot please all of the people all of the time. Of course, we will all have to bring this back to our national medical organisations, and the abiding principle, I think, should be that there should be no loss of membership throughout UEMO. I think it's also important that this process evolves, that we set out a programme, the cost of the programme, and advise in some considerable detail how we need to fund that programme. That certainly would further the aims of general practice. In our own situation, there's a significant difference between GDP and GNP. Also, in some countries, there is membership, compulsory membership of the organisations. In other countries, there are no such obligations. The Swedish conclusion was not arrived at instantly. It took a considerable period of time, and I totally appreciate your desire to obtain consensus in this regards. I think I also should advise you that excellence is the enemy of very good, and I think it's important that we achieve a consensus, that we bring forward and make the organisation as relevant as we possibly can to progress the aims of our membership. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Liam, for your comments. Jerónimo? Or who was?
Sí, hablaré en español, presidente. Bueno, yo también quiero agradecer el esfuerzo realizado por la Presidencia y por el Ejecutivo, por las estadísticas. No hemos podido estar en la Asamblea de Roma por cuestiones de elecciones en el Consejo General en la Orden Médica de mi país, como se anunció en su momento, aunque hicimos una delegación de voto en la delegación portuguesa. Y de lo que aquí se ha detallado hasta el momento ya podemos inferir dos cuestiones. Una, que hay que mejorar los registros de las especialidades médicas en cada orden y en cada delegación. Esto parece que es una cuestión evidente. Y segundo, que al plantear este tema puede tener también un efecto paradójico o péndulo, a lo mejor contrario al que se pretende. Y la intervención ahora mismo de la delegación checa, bajando ya de 5.000 médicos de familia a 4.000 médicos de familia, pues debería de encender un poco la luz de cómo tratamos este asunto. Yo soy el tesorero de la Orden Médica de mi país, del Consejo General de Colegios de Médicos, aparte de ser jefe de la delegación aquí en la UEMO, donde llevo ya algunos años. Efectivamente, igual que dice la delegación del Reino Unido y el resto de delegaciones, esto lo tengo que consultar con el Ejecutivo, con mi permanente, esta es la función, pero sí que puedo aportar algunas opiniones o reflexiones, porque en situación de una crisis global económico-financiera como la que estamos pasando, pues cualquier incremento de contribución hay que mirarlo con mucha prudencia. Y yo creo que además de hacer propuestas de las distintas delegaciones y actualizar los datos, que yo estoy totalmente de acuerdo, los datos que tienen que ver con el PIB de cada país, los datos que tienen que ver con la población, que son datos estadísticos nacionales que no tienen mucha discusión, y después en base a esos registros que tenemos o que debemos de tener en cada orden médica, discriminar lo que es la atención primaria en su conjunto. En mi país también existe la pediatría metida dentro de la atención primaria, y diferenciar lo que son la práctica general con o sin especialidad de la pediatría. Este es un asunto que estamos totalmente de acuerdo, pero sí que creo que debe de estar vinculado todo, independientemente de las propuestas que se hagan desde las distintas delegaciones, a un plan estratégico entendible, funcional, transparente, con objetivos y metas muy claros y vinculado a una memoria económica detallada de cada una de las actividades. Y esto es una obligación y responsabilidad tanto de la Presidencia como del Ejecutivo que está ahí sentado, y no en exclusiva de las delegaciones. Lo digo porque, por ejemplo, la cuota colegial en España, que es aquella parte contributiva que cada médico entrega a su colegio, y de ahí la parte que viene al Consejo General, por ejemplo, en España no ha variado en los últimos 12 años. Hemos sido muy prudentes y no hemos subido la cuota colegial prácticamente nada, y cada vez que hablamos de este tema, lógicamente, se plantean discusiones muy serias. Pertenecemos a entidades, menos al Comité Permanente de Médicos de Europa, que llevamos 10 años fuera del Comité Permanente de Médicos de Europa, pertenecemos, como casi todas las delegaciones, a muchas entidades a las cuales tenemos que contribuir, que es otro asunto que está en la memoria de todos. Por lo tanto, yo pido que esos planes estratégicos, que le corresponden de una manera absolutamente razonable a la nueva presidencia y a su comité, que ha sido elegido democráticamente por nuestra Asamblea General, pues que lo intente perfilar un poquito más, que lo intente vincular a una memoria económica bien detallada. El caso concreto, por ejemplo, de una oficina propia de acreditación en educación médica continuada de UEMO, nosotros ya nos hemos posicionado y no podemos compartir ese aspecto porque llevamos prácticamente 15 años con unos vínculos muy fuertes con nuestro partner para este tipo de asuntos, que es la UENS, y nada más. Llama mucho poderosamente la atención esta variación, independientemente de la llave que se quiera hacer comparativamente con quien sea, pero llama mucho la atención la variación entre lo que se propone para el 2020, 2021, 2022. Estamos hablando de unas diferencias incrementatorias del 25%, Entre 2020, 160.000 euros, 2021, 200.000 euros, es un 25% de incremento. 2022, 200.000 euros, es otro 25% de incremento. Esto, como nos explique un poco mejor y se vincule, pues va a suponer para todas las delegaciones un considerable aumento del presupuesto. Y desde luego, si hay un presupuesto, como es el caso de lo que se propone para España, para 2020 nos correspondería un incremento del 19,46%, para el 2021 supondría un incremento del 75%, para el 2022 un incremento del 119%, y entonces nosotros sí que tendríamos que pedir la ponderación de voto y recuperar la traducción en español activa y pasiva sustraída en su momento por la presidencia sueca en contra de nuestro contrato de entrada en la UEMO.
Two comments, general comments. We don't want to repeat the mistakes, our mistakes or other organization mistakes regarding the CPME relation, Spain, Portugal as well. This is one thing. And the second thing regarding the amount of money in not only for Spain, for everybody. I recall again the provision in the statute in extraordinary cases. We shall identify which are these extraordinary. The General Assembly may approve a deviation from the key. Every country, depending of its own condition regarding the numbers of physicians or family physicians or who are considered family physicians, like in Czech Republic or other things. Those, I think, are extraordinary situation cases which necessitates, which impose a deviation from the key. I think our statute is sufficient, flexible for each case, and we can discuss until we reach the consensus again. Renata, I think.
Thank you so much. Liam already raised all the topics, so I know nothing left on me.
Anyone? Joseph?
Thank you. I think I was present also in Norway when we were discussing this for the first time, and it was quite difficult to come to a decision then. The mistake with the organization, or the mistake we did then, was not to consider the cost of living increase with time. All of us have had a review of their salaries or their income or their profitability over the since 2002. We are 2019. In 17 years, I am sure we all have seen a radical or quite a change in our income personally. And similarly now in the income of all our organizations. However, the contribution key has remained the same for these last 17 years. I think that was wrong. I also understand all the variables which are on the table now, number of GPs, number of trainee GPs, which will make this discussion long and possibly without an end. But the need is urgent, I feel. And I propose, therefore, that the contribution key is raised by 2.5% per year, as from today, or next assembly, because in the 5 years' time, it will make 10%, and in 10 years' time, it will take 25%. 2.5% is the basic cost of living increase in every country, and I think it should be incorporated without much difficulty. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph, for the idea. It's one version of what we can do. One was this, another is that it is, if it is fair, why not? But all this may be discussed, I don't know where, in the working group, in the plenum, again, in autumn. I don't know what to do. It's upon your decision how to manage this item, this topic, a new key, please.
As I remember, at the autumn assembly, everybody shall vote and accept the next year budget. And we will need for sure all the information to be discussed in our home country before that. So I think we shall give to the board and to our president, to the treasurer, some direction today, because then they will prepare it accordingly and come back before General Assembly in autumn to have the time to discuss it and then vote according to our proxy from the association.
According to our statute, in autumn we shall vote for the yes, planned budget. If we are not deciding this in October, we remain at the same contribution fee, of course, and the same scheme, and the result is the same budget. Liam.
Perhaps we should consider a twin-track approach to this problem. Perhaps we should consider an interim percentage increase and bring this back to the plenary session in the autumn while we are establishing a more fair and ongoing key. This would facilitate, I think, two things. It would facilitate first of all, it would be less painful than a significant increase, and it would facilitate discussion on the process of funding and what we are going to apply the funding for, because I don't think that's obvious to all the delegates. We know we require more money, but we don't necessarily have set out exactly what we are going to use the funding for. My approach would be that we define the programme and then fund the programme. I think that would be a way to bring along the membership in a less painful way. It's like a little bit like the parable of the boiled frog. You increase the heat gradually and gently, and the frog really is happy. Thank you, Mr. President.
The first step was already done with the accountancy firm. The second step, we put it on the ice, the contract with Squares, because they put it the condition in front of the board, which is reasonable, of course, taking into account what they are willing to do and they can do for us as representatives of VMO in Brussels, and we can show the plan, the future plan, financial plan, on what are our intentions to spend for those money, the raising amount of money from contribution fee. It's not a big deal to say we want to rent a space, for example. In Brussels, the average rent cost are 4 square meters. That if the half of the rental space in Brussels are empty, but this didn't cause lower prices for the rent. They are maintaining the same. The minimum we can search, but it's not the same thing to have close to the European Commission as Square it is, to rent somewhere in periphery or in Charleroi or I don't know where, close to the airport. This is without any results. Our goal is to raise our visibility, the capacity, the lobbying capacity, and so on. Yes.